So where did this idea to get a collection of people come from? Like, what was the genesis of People Pleaser DAO?
Yeah, I think yeah, PleasrDAO. Yeah, I mean, the genesis was basically really wanting, personally, I really wanted to have a piece of this NFT, which I think is an
Hmm.
amazing NFT that represents so much about DeFi. It's all in one. And also just knowing that I just made an assumption like I'm not going to be able to afford this personally, and so I just I just kind of threw it out there as like, hey, let's try and get some people together who are aligned on like owning this piece of DeFi history. That's how I see it.
Hmm.
The genesis was I really want this, but I can't afford it.
Right. So the compromise was, well, I can just get my internet friends to band
Right.
together and we can all buy a share in it. So how did you get these people, your internet friends, to coordinate? And like, how did the coordination happen?
I just shared it on Twitter. I just shared the idea.
Hmm.
I was like, hey, anyone interested in this? And there's a couple people who responded and said like, yeah, I would be. And so it started with that couple people. It was like there was like three people, and so so then I started like a group chat on Twitter. From that, we set up like a Telegram group. We basically decided like, hey, let's all put in a minimum of 10 ETH. You can put in more,
Hmm.
but like minimum of 10 ETH, and we'll try and get enough people to be able to purchase it. And we sort of assumed the bidding was already at 100 ETH, and so we sort of
Hmm.
assumed like maybe it would go for like 150, maybe 200. It ended up going for a lot more, but we were like, okay, so we need 10 to 20 people, and so we
Hmm.
just sort of pinged people who we thought were would be interested in participating.
Right. So it's kind of like a word of mouth organization. It's like, oh, people's like, oh, I guess with this opportunity, perhaps I will do this thing because like, damn, that's already at 100 ETH. I would never buy that myself. But
Right,
if everyone's just contributing 10 ETH, well, what
right.
would you say was like the average like contribution size? And how did you guys even do accounting?
The average contribution was slightly above 10. Certainly the
Hmm.
most people contributed 10. I think one thing that's interesting in Andrew Kong, I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name. I haven't met him in person, but this is sort of interesting. He had the 100 ETH bid, so we were bidding against him,
Right.
and so we bid against him. But then what happened was someone in the DAO reached out to him and was basically like, "Hey, we're making this DAO to bid on it. Why don't you join us?" And so Andrew actually took that 100 ETH and put it into the DAO. And if it wasn't for him, we probably would not have had enough to actually
Right.
make the purchase because that was a substantial. So, anyways, basically, most people contributed 10 ETH, a couple did 20 and 30, and then like Andrew did 100, and I think maybe one other person did like 50.
He was going to bet 100 ETH himself, but then he realized that like, well, instead of going into a bidding war, I
Right,
can just join this DAO. I guess the compromise is that, well, now Andrew has to share this NFT with other people, but
right,
I would assume he has perhaps like the largest share of the People
right.
Pleaser DAO ownership of that NFT, and so like a bit of a compromise. But now it's part of this cool story where like at least he didn't get outbid or had to pay an even higher amount because he
Right.
coordinated with his internet friends.
Yeah, and he had the high bid. He placed
Hmm.
100 ETH bid, and so we outbid him. And this idea, which is obviously very crucial to DeFi and Ethereum in general, that like if we collaborate, we can actually do a lot more than competing against each other.
Ultimately the price turned into a bidding war, and like all good auction mechanisms, the foundation app resets every time a new bid is accepted. So there's 15 more minutes to set a bid. Do you know? So that bidding war. So Andrew joined into the People Pleaser DAO army. You guys have now you guys have more people, more capital, ready to
Yeah,
bid more. Who was the next bidder that you guys had to bid against? Do you know?
we don't know, but they had a lot of ETH. They had a lot, and we were like watching because they had a wallet. They were like dropping Ethan from Tornado Cash, and so we were like, oh man, they just added another 100 ETH. And so that's the thing on like blockchain, like you can see all this, right? And
Hmm.
so we're like, oh, it bid incoming, but we just anytime. I mean, I think they probably had to be intimidated, right? Because they're seeing this wallet that
Right.
has tons of people sending ETH into it from all different addresses, and it's like, how do you compete against that?
Right,
But
especially when like the invitation to the group is open, and if
right,
people are interested, they can find it and just throw in
right.
their capital. Like how are you going to fight against the army of the many?
Right, right. Yeah, we actually wanted to, but it was just like we only had like 15 minutes, but we wanted to send them like a message on chain and say like, hey, come join us. Um, but then we didn't have enough time.
That's hilarious. Don't fight us, just join us. So what's the state of the DAO now? Like how are things organized?
As soon as the auction ended, what I did is got four other trusted members of the
Mhm.
DAO on a multi-sig and transferred all of the ETH and the NFT to the multi-sig. So that's where it resides now.
Right. Okay. So what is the future of the DAO? Like, how are you guys going to manage this NFT? You guys are just going to have this multi-sig that owns this NFT, and then all the excess ETH is getting returned pro rata to the DAO holders. How is this going down?
Well, that's a great question. I think, as obviously with a DAO, I can't speak for the DAO, but I can speak
Right.
for myself. I can say that I don't think anyone's interested in returning the ETH. I don't think anyone wants their ETH back. I think what people are really excited about is actually growing it. And I do think there is a little bit of a niche here with sort of these collectibles, or collectibles is too trivial of a word. They're really like pieces of history that are specific sort of to DeFi. I mean, People Pleaser is to me a quintessential DeFi artist, right? Like, she's been doing so many videos for so long, and so owning something from her, Uniswap, obviously is a quintessential DeFi protocol, and there's other artifacts like that that we can continue to collect that are in this NFT art, but also sort of intersecting with DeFi category. And so personally, for me, I hope that the DAO continues collecting these, because I think, to me, we're building a museum on chain of financial history, and it's going to be awesome.
That's so cool. Yeah, I saw somebody's tweet that they had a people pleaser piece of art on for auction somewhere else, and they said, "Oh, I was trying to figure out why my piece that I forgot that I had for sale was bid on." And apparently, other artwork by people pleaser was immediately bought up on the secondary market after the fact. Was that you guys?
Well, yeah. So there may be some that was bought up, but some was bought up by DAO members. Yeah. So some was bought up by DAO members, because obviously the name's PleasrDAO, and again, like, we think very highly of her art, and think of her as being really, again, like a quintessential DeFi artist. And so we do want to collect a lot of her art for sure. And also, but also, more broadly, these DeFi artifacts that are really, again, it's the history in the making, and we're kind of collecting it in real time.
That's cool. This is such a fantastic story. It's got a little bit of everything. It's got like social organization, spur of the moment social organization using a DAO, and an NFT as a financial asset, like capital allocation and digital art and meaning and culture. That's pretty cool.
Well, and also, like, let's not forget the philanthropic side of it too, because that is,
yes, right, of course.
Obviously, like, a huge shout out to People Pleaser. Like, she could have made a lot of money off of this, and she decided to that to support a cause that's really important right now, with all the racism against Asian Americans, or just Asians in general, I guess, maybe in other countries. But yeah. So anyways, that I think is really cool, because that is like, that's also Ethereum's ethos in my mind.
Right. Right. Did you read Vitalik's piece on legitimacy before this event happened by chance?
No, I hadn't seen that until you tweeted it. And I actually haven't I read your tweet, but I haven't read the whole thing.
Yeah, it was so crazy. Like, he put out this piece like a week ago about how, like, NFT, the reason why people are paying so much for NFTs is because versus versus a copycat NFT, where copycat NFTs are the same NFT, but one is legitimate and one's not. And he said, well, a way to help gain legitimacy for NFTs is if the artist commits to doing something valuable for the world, and that bestows legitimacy upon this NFT. And then Uniswap, like Ethereum's de facto like application that exhibits all of the values of Ethereum, it runs this NFT that is exactly in line with like this predictive like legitimacy model that Vitalik had. The timing of that was just so cool.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'll definitely need to read that. Vitalik's always ahead of the curve.
This is always true, but only by 1 week this time. We're catching up.
That's good. That's good.
Awesome, Leighton. Well, thanks for coming on and let me record on the YouTube.
Yeah, thank you.